But right now, I want to welcome to the program the Executive Director of NRA's Institute for Legislative Action. Chris Cox is with us on the program. Chris, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, Cam. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming by. We just took a look a minute ago at the ad that made its debut, I think, during the Republican presidential debate, taking on Michael Bloomberg. Why the focus on Michael Bloomberg, a guy who is not a declared candidate for president, Chris?
Michael Bloomberg has made it clear that if he doesn't run for office, he's going to buy the office. He's tried to buy governor's mansions. He owns a lot of personal mansions, but he's trying to buy some governor's mansions across the country. He tried to buy some Senate seats in the United States Senate in 2014, but NRA members and supporters across the country rejected his agenda because they don't believe in his agenda. They don't want to be told by some elitist billionaire what they should eat, what they should drink, and definitely not whether or not they should own a gun. And we feel like introducing the real Michael Bloomberg to the American people will only benefit long-term the Second Amendment and our members across the country.
We had sort of laid out some of these areas where Bloomberg has been playing over the last couple of years. And Chris, is it your expectation that starting now and really up through next year's election, that Bloomberg is going to try to play in as many places around the country as he can?
Well, there's no question. This guy's worth at least $38 billion. He hates the Second Amendment. He's shown a willingness to get that checkbook out and write huge, vast amounts of money to fund these operations. He's bought a mom's gun control group. He's affiliated with other gun control groups. He has PR firms all across the country, primarily in New York City, that poll test all of his sound bites to try to mislead the American people. And he's shown that he's in this for keeps, and I can guarantee you the National Rifle Association is too. We've been around for a long time, and we intend to be around for a lot longer. And if Michael Bloomberg wants to try to dismantle the Second Amendment, he's going to have to go against the National Rifle Association all across this country. And what he's going to find out is that he might be able to buy a mansion in another state, but he can't buy the hearts and minds of the American people. They support the Second Amendment. They support the National Rifle Association. So we're getting ready for a fight, and we're preparing for it.
To that end, let's talk about some legislation that the NRA has come out in support of. Senator John Cornyn of Texas introducing legislation last week. And Chris, it sounds like this legislation does quite a bit. Can you talk about some of the specifics?
Yeah, I will, Cam. And I'd like to kind of speak a little bit to your listeners and your viewers about this issue, because there's been a gross amount of misinformation out there. We have some very real problems that we're dealing with as gun owners in this country. And a lot of it originates right in the White House, right on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue with this president. We all know it. We've seen what he tried to do with semi-autos. We saw what he tried to do with green tip ammo. We've seen the abuses. We've seen the government overreach. And we have real problems. The last time I was on your show and we talked, Cam, about what's going on with our veterans. We're talking about what's going on with Social Security Administration. We're talking about this overall issue of mental health. So Senator Cornyn wants to address these problems, and he's worked with the National Rifle Association, again, to really focus in on what this White House is trying to do. So what we've said is, if you try to deny a veteran their basic God-given right that they fought for and in some cases been wounded for or lost their lives for in this country, and you're going to deny them that right based on them needing some financial assistance, a fiduciary help, we're going to make sure that these veterans moving forward do not have that happen, and those who have been illegally barred from owning firearms by this president and this administration have an opportunity to go to court and get their rights back and have that freedom restored. That's number one. Number two, they think that they can go in and deny people who are only guilty of being older and drawing Social Security and wanting to have a husband or a wife or a son or a daughter help them with their checkbook. This legislation would go in and say, no, Mr. President, you're not going to do that. And the third piece of it is it goes in because they're trying to misuse and further abuse our mental health system and these records that they keep on people and try to get them into the NICS system. So what Senator Cornyn has said is, if there are people who have been adjudicated as a danger to themselves and others, we're going to put them in the NICS system, so we can make sure that you and I don't end up in it because we've been abused by some federal agency or some faceless bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. That's what this legislation does. So do we support it? Of course we support it. We support our veterans. We support older people having the same rights they did a year before they had a fiduciary to help them with their checkbook. Again, not a government employee, but maybe a husband or a wife or a son or a daughter. And yes, we support those who are a danger to themselves and others not having legal access. Obviously, there's nothing we can do to prevent illegal people from doing bad things, but from having legal access to firearms, we absolutely support it. But what's been so frustrating, Cam, is we've fought with the Brady campaign over these issues. We're fighting with Michael Bloomberg over these issues. We're used to that. We're used to the lies. We're used to the misrepresentations. But what we're seeing these days are so-called pro-Second Amendment groups who they're not putting on their work clothes and getting to work and getting in the trenches and rolling up their sleeves and trying to make sure that our veterans get respected and try to make sure that our moms and dads and grandparents have access to firearms at a time when they might need them more than when they were younger. They're not out there doing that. What they're out there doing is trying to misrepresent what the National Rifle Association stands for and try to raise money off of it. And there are gun owners out there who are worried. I'm worried. I'm scared as a gun owner. We see what comes out of this administration and this White House through Operation Choke Point, through Fast and Furious, through using the IRS as a tool against and a weapon against conservative groups, and it scares all of us. But we're actually doing something about it, and these other groups are literally just trying to raise money, and it's really disappointing. And I hope that my fellow gun owners and NRA members and supporters understand that there are groups out there who want nothing more than the dollar in your pocket and will not do anything to try to advance the cause of freedom in this country. But you can count on the National Rifle Association getting up every day and working to fix these problems, because our veterans deserve it, our moms and dads and grandparents deserve it, and most importantly, our kids deserve it moving forward.
Talking with Chris Cox, NRA ILA's executive director. And Chris, I know the last time we had you on the show, we were talking about the Social Security Administration gun grab. That representative payee designation, along with the Veterans Department. If you've got a fiduciary, you lose your rights. And, again, the administration, we know the president himself has directed other agencies to look for more of these categories, right, where it's not that you're adjudicated as a mentally defective individual. It's not that there's a hearing or anything like that. There's just a bureaucratic determination that, you must apply to this category, and therefore your rights get lost. This is, you're right. There are gun owners around the country who are concerned about this. There are millions of Americans already whose rights could be lost because they requested the help of a representative payee. They shouldn't lose their rights over that. Are you concerned that we're going to see more of this from the administration?
Cam, you and I have talked about this before. This ought to scare the dickens out of anybody, any American who respects freedom, whether you love guns or hate guns, because if this administration and this White House can do it to law-abiding gun owners, they can do it to anybody. You just switch out whichever freedom you represent, whichever freedom you enjoy and respect the most for firearms, and that's what you're facing. So what we're trying to do every day is slam that door in the face of this White House and this president. You want to come after our veterans? We're going to block you. You want to come after our moms and dads and grandparents? We're going to stand in your way. The National Rifle Association is going to work with our friends and fight every day based on the support we have of millions of people all across this country and say not only no, but hell no. That's what we're doing on a daily basis. That's what this legislation's geared towards doing, is stopping this further abuse by this administration. But has he shown a willingness to, again, get out his phone and use his pen and go around Congress and ignore the Constitution? No question he's done that. So this is a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week job, and we're up to the task, and we're going to continue to fight him until he leaves office and hopefully is replaced with a president who shows a little bit of respect for the Constitution and a little bit of respect for those veterans who have fought to protect it and preserve it.
Talking with Chris Cox, NRA ILA's executive director, and to that end, Chris, let's talk briefly about the 2016 elections. With the first debate having been held now, I think the season is officially underway. What can NRA members be doing both, nationally and locally right now to get involved and to make a difference?
Well, it's participate. All of us have a voice. All of us have an opportunity. If you live in Iowa or New Hampshire or South Carolina or Nevada, one of these early primary states, go to an event. Ask these candidates about their positions on the Second Amendment, and then dig a little deeper. Ask them what they think about President Obama trying to disarm veterans and trying to disarm people who are guilty of nothing other than needing a little help with their checkbook, and ask them what they would do differently, and ask them if they'd be willing to stand up, to the faceless bureaucrats who want to add people's names into a federal database to block them from exercising a God-given freedom because they can't go through the front door and take their guns away, so they're trying to go through the back door and add them into a prohibited category list. Ask them these questions. But again, join the National Rifle Association. And when you go to one of these events, or when you go to your local gun show, or when you go and you're just talking, at Coffee Club or somewhere else, look around that room and look around that table, because there's somebody who's not there that should be and that and reach out to them. Drop by their house and have a cup of coffee with them. Pick up the phone and call them, or at least shoot them an email or send them a fax, or yell through a megaphone, whatever it takes. But we've got to get the word out that this is the most dangerous time we face, arguably as Americans, not just as gun owners. And what we do between now and the first Tuesday of November 2016 will decide the type of country our kids have and our grandkids have. So this is a critical time for all of us. Participate, make your voice heard, disagree, argue if you have to, but let's go out there and do whatever it takes to win this country back from the certain destruction that we're leading towards under this administration and this president.
And Chris, what happens if the opposite occurs? What happens if gun owners get cynical, they get jaded, they decide to disengage? We've seen disapproval and maybe disgust even with Washington, D.C. grow to record levels. I know a lot of people are simply saying, to heck with it, I'm tuning out. What happens if gun owners do that?
Believe me, it's easy to get disgusted with what goes on in Washington, D.C. You shake your head sometimes and just say, what are they thinking, or are they even capable of thinking? But we can't sit back and let them do to this country what they've done for the last 6.5 years. If we do it, then our kids and our grandkids will live in a country that we wouldn't even recognize. And if Hillary Clinton wins, and if she were to win a second term, she's going to be president until January of 2025. We talked about that when we were in Nashville. January of 2025. Think of the destruction that would happen. Think to what would happen to our military. Think what would happen to just our social fabric and the things that we care about and all these freedoms that make this country great. Think of what could happen between now and January of 2025. I'm not willing to sit on the sidelines and let them further destroy this country. And I know that NRA members feel the same way. And as long as we stay engaged, as long as we stand shoulder to shoulder with one another, that we don't get distracted by whatever current distraction of the day, and then whatever distraction the other side tries to throw at us, but that we stand up and remember what we're fighting for, and that's this fundamental freedom, then I feel great that if we do what we need to do, all of us, every day between now and next November, we're going to win this country back. We're going to win the White House, and we're going to protect this freedom for our kids and our grandkids.
Chris, listen, thank you so much, sir, for coming on the show. It always is a pleasure getting a chance to spend some time with you. I hope we can do it again soon.
I look forward to it, Cam. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Chris Cox, NRA ILA's Executive Director, joining us here on NRA News, Cam and Company.